Hironobu Sakaguchi was one of the incredible people behind Final Fantasy and one of its creators. So it's no wonder that he has other incredible JRPGs out there that you need to check out. So to kick things off, one that everybody knows about, but just in case you missed it or didn't know that he was involved, I'm talking about Chrono Trigger. Even though this game came out in 1995 on the SNES, I bet you if you've played it, it is still one of your favorites of all time.
I think number one would probably be Chrono Trigger on the Super Nintendo. Have you ever played that game? It's a role-playing game.
No.
I think quite possibly one of the best video games ever made.
The JRPG follows Chrono across time up against the big bad named Lavos, who, you guessed it, is trying to bring about the apocalypse. But it's your job to go into the prehistoric era and to a future era to stop him. It's no wonder this game was a smash success because it was created by what Square Enix considers the dream team. That is Hironobu Sakaguchi, who obviously this video is about, so you know is the creator of Final Fantasy, Yuji Horii, who is the creator of Dragon Quest, and Akira Toriyama, who of course is the creator of Dragon Ball. So I know that was kind of an easy one. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, you've most likely played Chrono Trigger or heard of Chrono Trigger, but hey, it's still an incredible game worth checking out or even revisiting. And while Chrono Trigger is one of the most known works from Sakaguchi outside of Final Fantasy, this next one is probably the least known. I'm talking about Lost Odyssey. So if you missed Lost Odyssey, it's probably because it was only ever released on the Xbox 360 in 2008. Full disclosure, I played this a long time ago on the Xbox 360 around when it came out, maybe a couple years after, and I gotta say that it was phenomenal. I had such a blast. It was one of the times where I wasn't really playing JRPGs. I found this one. It looked incredible. The reviews were incredible. I had to pick it up. And wow, it did not disappoint. Now, that being said, I do remember it being a little bit clunky when it came to some of the walking around mechanics and stuff like that, but the in-game battles were awesome and the story was incredible. It follows an immortal named Kain. And while he's lived for over 1,000 years, he's lost his memory. Of course, he goes on an epic quest, meets a bunch of awesome people, and eventually gets his memory back. There's a mix of immortals, mortals in the game, there's different creatures of course, and I just remember it being super polished, except for a couple of little quirks here and there. I'm going to replay it soon. Probably once I start streaming, it'll be one of the games that I do. Alright, now taking a leap in time to a more recent release, we're talking about Fantasian Neo Dimension. Keep in mind, Fantasian Neo Dimension was developed for mobile, so maybe you played it on mobile, but it has been officially released on console, and I am actually currently playing through it. I haven't beat it yet, and I gotta say I really like it. There are some quirks, more quirks than I'd like at times. For example, when the screen changes, when you're going in a certain direction and the screen changes, it kind of gets glitched out a little bit. And also, they do get a little bit lazy with cutscenes because of the fact that it was on mobile. Obviously, the budget probably wasn't too crazy at the time. I was hoping they'd have more in this. Maybe they even added in some that I don't know about. But one thing that they did add to the console version was voiceover, and that helps a lot. So like Lost Odyssey, our main character's also lost his memory, but in this case, it's totally different. So as you may have guessed from the title, there are different dimensions in Fantasian Neo Dimension. And what's happening essentially is that there is a mechanical dimension that is infesting this kind of fantasy dimension. Leo at the beginning of the game starts off in the mechanical dimension and then eventually hops over to the fantasy dimension where apparently he resides, but again, he doesn't remember. Another really cool part about this game is the battle mechanics. Not only can you store monsters in what's called a dimension, and then battle them when you reach max capacity or when you just want to battle them. There's also a really cool mechanic in the game that lets you use angles when you're battling your enemies. So for example, the main character uses a straight angle. When you're using magic, you're allowed to use curved angles. Pretty cool little twist on a typical turn-based game. So there you have it, 3 games by the creator of Final Fantasy that you should check out if you haven't already, or maybe revisit if you have. Anyways, if you haven't picked up a JRPG in a while, pick one up whether it's on this list or not, and remember to always keep it geeky.